Ito ang latest trendy. Viral at trending ngayon sa mundo ng social media ang di umano'y balitang Vice President noon ni Cory Aquino na walang iba kundi si Salvador Roman Laurel o mas kilala bilang Doy Laurel ay may matinding revelasyon tungkol kay Cory Aquino na kanyang isinulat di umano sa kanyang article. Cory Aquino, ni minsan hindi daw di umano naging santa tulad ng pinapakalat ng mga dilawan kaya tumiwalag din si Doy Laurel sa administration niya. Ito ang mainit na balitang pinuputakte ngayon ng samot-saring komento mula sa marami sa ating mga kababayan Pilipino. At marami nga sa kanila ngayon ay hindi napigilan ng kanilang sarili na maglabas ng kanilang hinaing at komento sa mundo ng social media. Pero bago ang lahat mga ka-trendy, kung hindi pa kayo nakasubscribe sa aking channel, please click subscribe and hit the notification bell para lagi kang updated sa latest trending na balitang i-upload namin. At yun na nga, viral at trending ngayon sa mundo ng social media ang di umano'y balitang sa article ni dating Vice Presidente Doy Laurel ay ibinunyag niyang tinatawag siya ni dating Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Sr. sa Hawaii upang sana hilingin kay Cory Aquino na kapag namatay siya ay gusto niya sa Pilipinas siya ilibing doon sa tabi ng kanyang ina. Subalit, Cory Aquino hindi na di umano nakipag-usap kay Doy Laurel mula nang mauwi ito galing Hawaii. Kaya kahilingan ni dating Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos Sr. noon, hindi niya nasabi.
Meron akong gustong ibahagi sa inyong isang article na nabasa ko na sinulat ni former Vice President Salvador Doy Laurel. Nakita ko po ito sa isang post ni Mark Ian. Meron po akong babasahin na article at gusto ko na maintindihan nyo ng gusto. Ito po ay tungkol kay former President Cory Aquino. Pero kung tutuusin pala, Cory Aquino was never a president. Dahil hindi naman po niya nakuha yung kanyang pagka-presidente sa isang democratic process. Yan po ay hindi alam ng karamihan sa mga kabataan ngayon. Tanungin mo sila, paano naging presidente si Cory Aquino? Tingnan natin kung malalaman nila. Malamang sasabihin nila dahil nanalo sa eleksyon. Hindi po nanalo si Cory Aquino sa kahit na anong presidential election. Noong nagtapat po sila ni Apo Lakay sa snap elections, ang nanalo po ay si President Ferdinand Marcos. Pero dahil nga daw sa foreign intervention, na iluklok si Cory Aquino. So kung hindi siya dumaan sa democratic process, bakit sasabihin nila na si Cory Aquino ang nagbalik ng demokrasya sa ating bansa kung siya mismo ay hindi dumaan sa democratic process? Maraming bagay po na unti-unting naglalabasan sa ngayon na dapat malaman ng mga kabataan, lalo na yung mga na-brainwash na ang tingin nila kay Cory Aquino ay santa. Ano nga ba si Cory Aquino? Sinner or sin? Ito po, babasahin ko itong article na to na isinulat nga po ng ating former Vice President Salvador Laurel. Doon po sa mga hindi nakakaalam, si Doy Laurel po ang naging running mate ni Cory Aquino at siya po ang naupong Vice President. Pero kalaunan po siya po ay tumiwalag sa kampo ni Cory Aquino. Sa anumang dahilan, well, among other things, hindi po kasi tumupad si Cory Aquino dun sa kasunduan nila ng term sharing. Meaning hati siguro sila ng pagka-presidente, hindi po natuloy yun. Yung pangakong yun ay hindi nagkaroon sa katuparan. Dahil sinabi daw ni Cory na yung mga pangako ay nabura lahat nung nangyari yung EDSA People Power Revolution. Okay, babasahin ko po. From the lips of a dying president by Salvador H. Laurel, former Vice President of the Philippines. I can attest to that. Weak and already on his deathbed when I visited him in Hawaii on February 3, 1989. Marcos personally asked me to convey to Cory Aquino his offer to give up 90% of his earthly possessions to the Filipino people through a foundation which he had set up. But Cory only would allow him to die in his own country and be buried beside his mother. I related this incident in a book, Neither Trumpets Nor Drums, published in 1992, right after I ended my term as Vice President of the Philippines. Pertinent portions of that book I now quote for the benefit of those who have not read it. So marami po ang hindi nakakaalam. Isa na po ako doon, na si Doy Laurel pala ay pinapunta sa Hawaii upang makipag-usap kay President Marcos. At siya ay nasa deathbed na. Ibig sabihin, nakaratay na at ilang panahon na lang ang kanyang ilalagi sa mundo. Tuloy ko po ito. One of the most unforgettable trips I took as Vice President was my visit to Honolulu on February 3 and 4, 1989. On February 2nd, at about 5 p.m., I received an urgent call from Mrs. Imelda Romualdez Marcos in Honolulu. She was sobbing on the phone. Doy, pwede ka ba makapunta rito? Masama na ang tayo ni Ferdinand. Gusto kang kausapin. Baka hindi na siya magtagal. Please, please come. She pleaded. I will have to cancel my appointments. Maybe I can go in few days, I asked. She interrupted me. Baka hindi mo na siya abutin. Please, come as soon as possible. I thought about it. The cases filed against the Marcoses had been pending for 3 years, yet nothing had happened, and the nation remained fragmented. Perhaps if I tried the Lincolnian approach, with malice toward none, with charity for all, we might be able to settle the issue and unite the nation. Then I remembered Imelda's plea. Gusto kang kausapin. Maybe there is a chance. Maybe he is ready to settle. She first briefed me about President Marcos's condition, that he was very weak. The doctors who were attending to him told me he had a less than 50% chance of surviving, that he might not even last 3 months. Then they took me to the intensive care unit. I could not recognize Ferdinand Marcos when I saw him. The Marcos I knew was athletic, active, and articulate. The man I saw was skin and bones. About 85 pounds. Imelda announced cheerfully, Andy, narito na ang Batanggenyo. Narito na si Doy. His eyes opened. He recognized me. He tried to talk, but only his lips moved. There was no sound. He signaled the nurse to remove the tube embedded in his throat. The nurse pulled out the long tube and asked me to bend closer so I could hear. Finally, I heard his voice. Very faint, almost a whisper. Salamat, Brad. Nakarating ka. I have something to tell you. I interrupted him. Before you start, Mr. President, may I ask just one question? He nodded. Why did you call me, Mr. President? Why me of all people? I vehemently oppose you. I was probably one of those responsible for your ouster. Why me? He signaled me to stop. Say no more, Brad, he said. I never held that against you. You did what you had to do as leader of the opposition for many years. You opposed me on principle, never on personality. You were against martial law, but you were noble about it, unlike some people. Besides, I cannot forget your father. I owe him my life, not once, but thrice. Let me talk now. I have very little time. Please, tell Mrs. Aquino to stop sending me her relatives. They are proposing and asking so many things. All I want is to die in my country. I will run over 90% of all my worldly possessions to our conversation, to our people. I ask only 10% for my family. Sakit sa dibdib. Just let me die in my own country. I want to be buried beside my mother. His breathing had become more labored. The nurse stopped our conversation. He has to rest now, she said. Before leaving, I told him, Mr. President, I do not know if Mrs. Aquino will listen to me, but I will try. I hurried back to Manila to transmit Marcos's message to President Aquino. I asked for an appointment, but Cory would not see me. Here I was, her own vice president, asking only for 3 minutes of her time to convey an important message from her predecessor, and she would not see me. I was told by her executive secretary, Catalino Macaraeg, she was busy. I learned later that she had allocated an hour to Tom Cruise, an American movie star. In view of her repeated refusal to see me and hear what I had to say, I wrote her a letter dated February 5, 1989. Since my arrival yesterday, I have been trying to get an appointment with you. I hope you will find time to listen to the highly confidential message of Mr. Marcos, considering it is serious, import, and far-reaching consequences upon your administration and the nation as a whole. The next day, Cory replied, As to the highly confidential message from former President Ferdinand E. Marcos, I feel that in the light of your representation of its serious import and far-reaching consequences upon my administration and the nation as a whole, such message should be disclosed to the public rather than kept confidential. This is in accordance with my announced policy of utmost transparency in the management of the affairs of the country. On the same day, I wrote back, I am still hoping that you will change your mind and receive the message in a private, non-political, direct, and unfiltered manner beyond any personal and partisan consideration. As to your published suggestion that I share with the public the highly confidential information, I am afraid I am not yet at liberty to do so, considering that the message was entrusted to me in confidence to be delivered to you personally. Only you and the former President Marcos can declassify or disclose this message. Let us give national reconciliation and national stability every chance to succeed for the sake of our fragmented people. I never received any further reply from Cory. Cory's refusal to receive Marcos's message was perhaps her biggest mistake. Had she studied it carefully, she could have settled the Marcos wealth issue 8 years ago. Perhaps we could have paid off our foreign debt. Ito ngayon ko lang nalaman, and I'm sure marami po sa ating mga kababayan ang hindi alam itong part of our history. Na nakausap ni former Vice President Doy Laurel, si McCoy, at ang sinabi ng ating President Marcos, willing siyang ibigay 90% ng kanyang ari-arian para ibigay sa mga Pilipino through a foundation. Kahit na 10% na lang ang matira sa pamilya niya. Bakit hindi tinanggap ni Cory Aquino? Dahil tulad nga ng mga ibang proyekto na nasimulan ni President Marcos, ayaw ipagpatuloy ni Cory Aquino yung mga proyekto yun dahil ayaw niyang isipin ng mga tao na may kabutihan si Ferdinand Marcos Sr.
At yun na nga mga ka-trendy, kung kayo ang tatanungin, ano ang masasabi mo sa video na ito? Huwag kalimutang mag-iwan ng komento sa baba para malaman ko kung ano ang naging reaksyon mo sa latest at trending na balitang ibinahagi namin. Maraming salamat po!